I want to briefly discuss differences in Quran variants. It is an established claim by Muslims that the Quran is perfectly preserved, word for word. This claim, unfortunately, is not backed by any kind of evidence and is even contradicted in the Islamic record. This is the Bridges translation of the 10 Qira'at of the Noble Quran. You can find a copy in my archive. Please see the description box for a link to the archive and search for Bridges. I want to go to page 168 to choose just one example of many. Now, notice here it says they were barred from the way. However, it tells us here in the footnotes that other variants of the Quran read it as, and they barred others from the way. Now, they were barred, they barred others. You were stopped, you stopped others. These are not the same. These are distinct differences. We have here, and the deniers will know, and of course it tells us that, and the denier will know. We go from singular to plural. This, unfortunately, undermines the claim of an unchanged, unaltered Quran that is static from the beginning. We'll look at more examples in a minute. Let's discuss the notes. Now, Quran variants do show distinct differences, and Muslims, of course, routinely claim that the Quran is perfectly preserved, word for word. However, this claim is false. There's research from peer-reviewed studies, such as those in the Journal of Quranic Studies and related scholarly works, that underscore the persistence of textual diversity in the Quran, particularly through the two dominant traditions. You have the Hafs, transmitted by Hafs ibn Suleiman from Asim, which is widely used. This is the variant that was canonized in 1924, making the canonical Quran only 101 years old. And then you have the Warsh, transmitted by Warsh from Nafi, which is prevalent in North Africa. Now, these variants stem from the early Islamic period, where the Quran is said to be revealed in 7 ahruf. These are called modes or dialects, but are really variants. And this is said to accommodate linguistic differences among Arab tribes, but was supposedly later standardized under Caliph Uthman in 650 AD, leading to the burning of variant copies. Of course, in 1924, when the Hafs Quran was standardized, there were numerous Qurans that were used as school textbooks, and these had distinct differences, leading to contradictions in recitations by Egyptian students. The Egyptians then sank those variants in the Nile and established the Hafs variant. Now, despite the fact that there have been these burnings or Nile dumpings of the Quran, we have over 1,354 documented differences that exist between Hafs and Warsh alone. And these are categorized into 5 types. They are extra words. For instance, the Hafs adds huwa in Quran 57:24, making Allah huwa al-Ghaniyu the full sentence, while Warsh admits it. So it removes the word huwa. There are graphical letter changes, like qala, he said, in 21:4 versus Warsh, kul, say. He said versus say, or you say, or the Prophet should say. These are not the same. Should you say it? Should he say it? Should we say it? Should the Prophet say it? These are not the same people. These do not point at the same subject. There are diacritical variations. In Hafs you have naghfir, we give mercy, in 258, and in Warsh you have yughfar, he gives mercy. So do you give it? Do we give it? Do they give it? These are not the same. These are differences. These differences undermine the claim of an unaltered Quran from the beginning. These are not minor differences. These are not dialectical differences. These are not pronunciation differences. These are actual differences with distinct meanings. If this way judgment in court, and it's you are guilty versus he is guilty, or we are guilty versus he is guilty, those differences make a difference. Would you like to be guilty of something? We are guilty of theft. He is guilty of theft. that could lead to some severe implications and consequences. So these changes do matter. There are vowelships like Hafs, Katala, fought in 3:146, and in Warsh we have Kutila, was killed. Would you prefer to fight or do you prefer to be killed? So he fought or he was killed. Is he dead or is he alive? That is a distinct difference. And then you have the Bismillah. Now Hafs treats it as revealed and it adds it to multiple verses, so it adds 452 words across 113 surahs. Now, wider analyses reveal even more variants. There are 592 companion readings. There are 540 differing from the Uthmanic Codex. And do note, we do not have an Uthmanic Codex from that period. There is literally no Uthmanic Quran. We know from Islamic records that Ibn Masud omitted surahs 1, 113 and 114, and Ubay ibn Ka'b included 2 extra surahs for 116, of which 177 have chains of transmission and 20 are authentic by hadith standards. Now these discrepancies, including semantic alterations, where this is the active versus the passive voice, they change the agency in the narratives. There are orthographical variations in early manuscripts like the Sana palimpsest, which directly undermine the notion of a single unaltered divine text, because they show that there is historical textual evolution and multiplicity. And this is shown in studies like Brockett's analysis of transmission stability with inherent variations. You can find various reports on this. I'll bring up these 3. This is one of the documents you're welcome to have a look at. Journal for Islamic Studies, Holy Quranic Manuscripts Examining Historical Variants and Transmission Methods. That's the DOI here. Another document covering some of this by Samuel Green, the different Arabic versions of the Quran. And the value of the Hafs and Warsh transmissions for the textual history of the Quran by Adrian Brockett. That's in the De Gruyter Islamic and Middle Eastern Studies Journal. There are also numerous other Islamic documents that cover this from within the Islamic sources, and you've got Al-Tasan's documentation of anomalous or shad readings. Furthermore, influences on interpretation are evident. You have Nafi and Warsh variants on women's roles. Nafi emphasizes societal participation. Warsh stresses women's submission. And this highlights how these over 20 and often far more variants introduce interpretive diversity rather than actual uniformity. Despite the fact that Uthman supposedly burned variant Qurans, we still have variant Qurans today. Let's look at some examples. Surah 2, 125, Al-Baqarah. You have Hafs says, Watakizu, you shall take. Warsh is Watakazu, they have taken. Now this is theft. Are you guilty or are they guilty? The one is future tense, the one is past tense. Surah 2, 140, Hafs takuluna, you say. Warsh, yakuluna, they say. Did you say it or did they say it? Surah 2, 184, poor person versus poor people. Do you need to bring 1 package of food? Do you need to bring a truck full? That's the difference. Is it 1,000 poor people? Is it 1 poor person? Surah 2, 259, we will raise it, we will spread it. Are you spreading a blanket or raising a house? There will be differences. Surah 3, 81, Ataytum, you have brought, or Ataytumu, you have come. So you've arrived here, or you've brought something. Have you brought something, or have you just arrived? What did you bring? Did you bring nothing? Were you told to bring something? This leads to questions, because there are clearly differences in the Quran. Surah 3, 146, Katala, fought. Kutila, was killed, is the variant in the Warsh. Would you prefer to fight, or would you prefer to be killed? Surah 4, 94, you say, he says. You said or he said? Hafs says Yakulu in Surah 553, he says. Warsh, Takulu, you say. Surah 699, Hafs, he sent down. Warsh, we sent down. Who's the he? Who sent down? Surah 757, he spreads. We spread. Who spreads? Surah 9, 107, Itakuzu, they have taken. You shall take in the wash. Did you steal or did they steal? Did they destroy it? Did you destroy it? Are they guilty? Are you guilty? These differences have significant implications. Surah 13:33. They barred others from the way. They were barred from the way. You stopped others. Others stopped you. You were prevented. You prevented them. This is significant. Then we have an interesting variation in gender pronouns from him to her in related verses. For instance, we have, may Allah's curse be upon him in Nafi and Yaqub variants, versus may Allah's wrath be upon her. Who should be cursed, him or her? Does Islam differentiate between men and women? Does it not matter that he is guilty versus she is guilty? He is cursed, she is cursed. He did it, she did it. So these are some of the changes that we can find in these variants of the Quran. We have no reason to believe that the Quran is unaltered. There is no evidence to support an unaltered Quran, and even the Islamic record clearly indicates that the Quran has variants, and despite efforts to make a single version of the Quran, variants still exist. See you next time.